All right, we're gonna get started now. So, I invited people on, to come into the chat and stuff like that. So if anybody joins, that'd be great. If not, we're gonna go through a couple different things today. All right. So I'm admittedly I'm not as organized as I like to be around some of this stuff. I've had a busy couple of days. I know what I'm gonna go through first, and I know what I'm gonna go through last. But in between there is going to be a little bit wild. So I'm going to try to get in and hyperlink the video at some point. So before I do that, we're going to start with some of the stuff that I want to run in Altoona, because I think that's relevant to everybody. So what I noticed, I mean, the first thing I noticed, what we're going to go over on Monday in a management meeting, is up in Altoona, when you the first thing that makes them successful, okay, that makes all these guys really good at the job, is that, and if you guys are listening, obviously I'm talking to you too, but what makes them successful is that they're into being a team, they're into fighting, they're into winning. Like, we got warriors up there, and that when I look at each one of them, I look at people that want to better their life. They don't really care about what they're doing. I mean, I'm confident that if they had to, speed run for 8 hours, then as long as they were getting paid enough money to do it, then they would do it. They want to do well, they want to excel, and that's the beauty of what they're doing up there in Altoona. And I mean, it's the same, don't get me wrong, our whole team is like that, okay? But I find that especially interesting about those guys up there. They have a tenacity to them, and they want to learn. I've never had, like, I'll put it this way: anytime that I've ever made a suggestion to them or something like that, even if I've gotten like a question about it or something, I've never got any fight back about it. It's like, okay, cool, I'll give it a try. You know what I'm saying? I'll give it a try. So it's not perfectly reasonable response, right? I mean, that's perfectly good. That's exactly what I'd like to expect from someone that wants to get better at the job, right? So they do a fantastic job of that, and that's the saving grace up there. Because I'll tell you what, if they didn't have that, then I think they'd be in a much tougher spot. I mean, you look at the numbers up there, and sort of what has gone on over the last 4 to 6 weeks or so. Just to give you a little history, because I think it is important to understand the history there, and what makes people do well quick. These guys step in. You got Carson, who's fantastic. Okay, great at his job. Mike, they step in. They're doing a fantastic job. They're just awesome at what they do, and they show it right out the gates. Carson obviously been at it for a long time. Mike, not so much, but both of them step out and are doing just a fantastic job. And that makes all the difference to a team right there. So before they even grow, they got a leg up, and that's it. So they're making money right away. That's fantastic. Okay. Then we got a couple other people coming. Tyler comes in and stuff like that, and he's doing a fantastic job too. These guys, Mesrel Max comes in right before Tyler, and he starts doing a fantastic job. And then Charlie comes in as well. So all these guys come in, and they're all very self-motivated. And they all have something to fight for. They all have a reason for being there. And I think that's what makes them successful inherently. Now we got other guys starting to come in as well. So that's fantastic to see. That's exactly what will make your team good. Now, these guys are averaging like 8 demos a week, and all of a sudden we start to see it starts with one of them has a drop in production, right? And then the other one drop in production, and drop in production, and drop in production. And then someone starts and they don't do as well. And so you can see this happening in real time. Now, if we don't catch this problem early enough, then we're in dire straits, right? We're in a bad place. And that's not where we want to be at. So you got to catch the problem quick enough. But if you do, then you got the right guys to fix it, right? So that's the awesome part about what's going on there. So I get up there, and I fully expect there to be like a kind of a bad attitude, because if you're having a tough week, if you're having a tough week or two, then it's very, very easy to get down on yourself. It's very easy to have a tough time, right? So I get up there, and instead of seeing a negative attitude, I see a positive, uplifting attitude that motivates me, that makes me feel good about what I'm doing. And I'm like, okay, cool, let's roll into some role playing and let's do it, right? So you get a couple guys in training. They're working with the guys in training, being extremely helpful and stuff like that. I pull these guys aside, and I script test them kind of one by one. I think Max had volunteered first, maybe? No. Yeah, I think so, yep. And I go through all this role playing, Max, Mike, all different guys, and I listen to all their pitches, right? And what I notice is, I'm like, okay, I'm going to write notes later, right? Which was, I shouldn't have promised that, because I went on the road, So later, I get back later on at night, whatever, and I'm back at the hotel like 10 o'clock in my room. I'm like, I'm not writing these notes right now. So I start going through and eventually I write some notes. And I go to write notes for each individual. And that's, I think, what seems so taxing to me. And I realize, oh shit, they all have the same notes for the most part, right? I mean, there's some different stuff here and there, but for the most part, they're all the same, all the same problem. So what I'll start with is this, is that if your team, okay, if you're on a team, if you're whether you're on a team or you run it, if your team, if they have a problem, they probably all have it. Most of them have it in some degree. When I say most of them, I mean, like, there could be someone that's completely separate from that, right? Like, let's say we get, John Smith here, and John Smith is just going out and he's killing it, doing his own thing or whatever, not really screwing with anything or whatever. He's got his thing that's worked for a long time. He might be doing that, but everybody else could be doing the same thing, having the same mistake, right? So you got to understand where that comes from, where that derives from. And you as a teammate or as a team manager have the power to be able to influence that, right? So I'm just going to go through some of the things that were going on with them, because I think they're helpful to every person here. When you talk about, getting good at the job and stuff like that and starting out the right way, the first thing that I'll say is the best way to start off is to start off right? Start off doing good. So, I mean, if you start off and you're successful right away, then it's very, very easy to be able to transition that over and over again, right? To replicate that. So you have belief essentially, right? If I'm John Smith and I start off and I'm getting 8-10 demos a week, when I have a tough week, I know I can correct this behavior. I can correct what's going on. I can fix what I'm doing. And so it makes it a lot easier to be able to transition back to doing well. But it's still hard. It's hard. It's easy to go from, having a little bit of a tough time and then kind of growing your numbers. It's hard to go from great time to shitty time to back to great time, right? That's a tough thing to deal with. Mentally, it's taxing, right? So the first thing that I noticed was that nobody was using the actual address of the neighbors that we've done work. And this is a failure on two fronts, right? I mean, number one, in management, we need to get people addresses that we've done in an area. We don't want people making up stuff when they get a lead, stuff like that. I mean, that's fantastic. If you get a lead early on and you're able to use that to talk to the rest of the neighbors, that's a great option. I mean, that's the best option, but that doesn't always happen. And even if it does, it doesn't hurt to have both these two things, to be able to have a house that we've done and a lead that we've ran, or a couple leads that we've ran. That's a beautiful thing. It gives you so much. Not only does it give you relevance to why you're there and a reason to be there, but it also allows you to keep referencing back to that as to why we should come out. Now, hey, look, we're already in the area, right? We're already in the area. Might as well stop out and give you a quote. It makes sense, And so it makes it easier for the customer that you're talking to rationalize. And, for you guys that have been on the road with me, you've noticed that that's something that I use all the time. Now, I'm not even suggesting scripting for this. Like, I'm not suggesting that you go out there and say it at every house. What I'm saying is that when I get down to the wires, typically, when I get down to the wire and the customer's like, nope, not going to do this, and that, that's usually sort of the rabbit out of the hat, right? Or I don't know what the reference is. It's probably like the cat out of the bag. I don't know. You get it. There's something coming out of something, and boom, there you go. It's a magic trick, right? Like that's what I use typically. That's my last thing, right? Is, hey, look, we're already out in the neighborhood. Might as well come home and give you a look, stuff like that. Okay. It's like, it's no swan off our back, no problem, this and that, right? We're happy to do that for you. Okay. So that's the first thing there. Okay. Now, the way to put that into scripting is just like what's on paper when it comes to using the actual address. So I knock on the door, knock, knock, knock. Good afternoon. My name is Paul Duffy. You Mr. Jones? Okay, great. Mr. Jones, look, I'm with Renewal by Anderson. We just did some work for Mrs. Smith right down the road over on 123 Main Street. I always like to point in a direction. Okay. If you can capture their attention and you can move them physically, then you can move them mentally. So you have to remember that. So we just did some work for Mrs. Smith right over on 123 Main Street. The reason I'm out here, so on and so forth. Okay. So that's a great way to be able to speak with customers right in the beginning. Okay. When I caution you again to just start throwing stuff in your script. We'll get to that in a second, but that's another thing that I think people need to work on. I mean, they're taking way too much from other people. When you go to use that later on, a good example is if that customer is pressuring you and saying to you something like, look, I don't want to waste your time. No, actually, you're saving us a lot of time because, like I said, we're out doing a job for Mrs. Smith anyways. And actually, I just set up an appointment for your neighbor right down the street here, Mrs. Jones. So it's really easy for us to pop by. And a good example is, the other day we had a previous customer that was like, no, look, I don't have time for this right now. I don't get time for this right now. Really kind of shooing us off. She had done a couple windows. She had a few more left to do. And so I was like, look, the reason why him, and before I let you go, because she was like, I'm late. Seemed like everybody was the same thing. We still did well, but she's like, I'm late. And so I'm like, no, okay, ma'am. Well, look, before you go, okay, I just want to let you know, we have somebody out seeing Mrs. Jones down the street. We just set an appointment for her. So it'd be real easy for us to come out and see you. We're seeing her, I think, on Saturday. Could we come out and see you at 10 a.m. or 2 p.m.? And she's like, no, Saturday's not going to work. I said, okay, well, before you go, okay, we're finishing up a job. Would Monday or Tuesday be better? Well, I think Tuesday will work. Okay, cool. Tuesday afternoon. All right, great. And your previous customer, I just want to go over a couple of things with you. 90 minutes, both homeowners. Boom, there we go. Okay. They already know what we got going on. Now, it doesn't need to be a previous customer. When Mike and I were out there his first day, same thing. Old lady comes out. She's super nice. She has previous Anderson windows, not renewal by Anderson. They're older Anderson windows. And they had some clear issues. And she sort of admitted to us right away, like, we're not thinking of it, but we are. Like, we know at some point we're going to have to do them, but just not right now. And so I get in a little bit deeper with her. We're talking. And then she says, well, my husband's out golfing right now. And I said, well, I'm glad that you said that because, we would like you and your husband both there. And she's like, yeah, that's a problem. I don't know a schedule. And I'm like, well, if you can think about it or go get it or something like that, we are going to be out visiting your neighbor. That's why we're out here, because we're going to be out seeing your neighbor here over the next couple of days. So it'd just be way more convenient for us. That way we make it convenient for you as well. So can you check your husband's schedule? And she's like, yeah, well, we're usually home at this time. Okay, cool. Boom. So there's different ways that you can go about doing this, but you just have to make sure that you're really committed to using those addresses, because it's so easy to fall off from and just say, hey, we just isn't working neighborhood, right? A lot of people go that route. Okay. The second thing, this is important. Like, I'm going through this stuff. I'm not going through it by level of importance. Okay. I would count this as more important almost. It's more deadly, definitely, than a lot of problems. And now this came up in, let me see. 1, 2, 3. This came up in at least 4, maybe 5 one-on-ones so far. Okay, this is a desperate issue. And if you're a team manager, then this is something that you need to look at. This is something you need to consider on your training out on the road. Okay. So what I noticed is that a lot of people are bringing up one problem, and that's glass impaction. They knock on the door, they immediately bring up glass impaction, and that's it. And I feel a couple different ways about that. Number one, if you see glass impaction, then fine, of course, bring it up. Like, it's a good problem to bring up. It's a good problem to have on the side of you. But I don't think it's the most major problem that you can find. I by far don't think it's the most major problem that you can find. Nor do I think you're going to find it at every single house. You'll find it at a lot of houses with vinyl windows. But we got people saying this at every style of window that we can imagine. And then what I'm seeing a lot is glass impaction. Yep. Glass impaction. Yep. Warping of your glass. Yep. Have you seen it? Yep. No. Okay. Yep. And that's it. They'll go over glass impaction. They'll ask a couple questions surrounding glass impaction, and then that's all. And that's not where we want to be at. It's just, I'm not someone that thinks we need to go over a zillion problems, but a couple anyways. Like, just going over glass impaction, I think, is a mistake. And you're doing the same problem at every house. And what I noticed was we had no buy-in from customers. And I noticed that when I was on the road with 2 different people over the course of the last few days, is that there's no urgency being built whatsoever. And I'm not someone that thinks you have to build up this giant urgency when it comes to window problems. Like, I'm pretty conservative on that aspect, but a lot of people are much more avid about it than I am. But I don't think it's translating. I think even for the people that are very avidly into needing to build a lot of urgency, a lot of people on your teams are doing this. They're just going after glass impaction and they're moving on. Glass impaction is at best a secondary problem. It's definitely not the most important thing you're going to run into out there. So just keep that in mind, And then I put down here foot and malt disease. Isn't there something like that called like hand, foot, and malt or something like that? That's what it references. I always thought it was funny though, foot and malt disease. It's the truth. That's what a lot of people are doing. To some degree, I had script tested and heard 1, 2, 3, 4 people do this. I heard 2 people do it on the road. And then I had after I put out like that little text with like, this is a problem for people, whatever, just like a sample of the training. When I was, when I was saying, hey, this is what I'm writing right now. I had 2 people tell me that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm going out there and I'm doing this exact thing. I'm getting like rebuttal PTSD or whatever. Like, I'm going out there and I think the customer is going to say no. And so I I rebuttal too early, or I answer, or I say their objection. Any of those different things will cause a problem for you, right? So the way I put it on here is that everyone on the team is begging the customer to say no to them. It's a dangerous problem, and it's born off some sort of rebuttal PTSD, which means customer has objected so many times that you've overly anticipated the objections. This causes you and anyone that you work with to overthink what the customer says, or has said rather, and even look like even the looks they've given. So I had somebody even say, the customer just looked like they were not interested. I get the look. Hell, I'd say I get the look half the time I'm talking to you guys. Like you're not interested, right? So I get the look. I fully understand the look. I get it. I mean, it comes in different variations, right? It could be anywhere like the head back, like leaning back, like I'm a tough guy look from a dude, or you could get the like kind of confused look. You could get the arms crossed look, right? Any of those closed off looks from customers, and it makes you think like, well, this person clearly is not interested. You know what? They're probably not. They're probably not. But you know what's not going to make them more interested is you saying, hey, looks like you're not interested, right? Or you doing some weird rebuttal, weird obscure rebuttal about promotions in the middle of nothing. That's not where you want to go with that, right? Ignore it, because you're going to either break through with the customer or you're not going to. I always use the example, as for a different reason, of this guy who I knocked on his door, and he had a mezuzah in his door. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's a little thing. I think it's called a mezuzah. I saw it in a movie the other day. It's a little thing like the Jewish thing on the side of the doors, all the doorways, all the people that are Jewish, their households. And it holds some sort of like, the way that he described it was like the 10 Commandments for me. So I said, fair enough. Okay. So I had asked the guy, because the guy comes out and he looked pissed. And he's like, look, he's kicking dinner down the street. I'm cooking dinner. I don't have time for this right now. So I said, okay. I said, sir, before I go, I just wanted to ask you about this thing right up here, because I see him on all the houses around here. And he's like, oh yeah, that's a mezuzah. I got it from Israel. But again, he still looked pissed off. So I'm like, oh, wow. Have you ever been to Israel then? He's like, yeah, I go over here. I love it. And he proceeds to talk to me for 20 minutes about Israel and how much he loves Israel. If anybody's on here too, pop in the chat, say something too. I'm a little bit bored in this training myself, because I'm just talking to a screen, I guess. So I'm talking to nobody probably, but I see some people pop on the video. So this guy tells me, yeah, I've been over to Israel every year. He loves talking about Israel, talks about it for 20 minutes, right? So I'm like, okay, cool. This guy just told me that dinner was on the stove. His wife comes home and he's like, oh yeah, it's dinner in the crock pot, honey, right? And his attitude completely flipped. So if I go up there and I look at his closed off, he came up like this. He came up like he was on like I don't know, some sort of like album cover or something with his arms like in like a super defensive position and his head back, looking just like a jerk off. And I'm like, oh man. And it looked like he didn't want to talk to me. And I don't think he did want to talk to me, right? But my response was to broaden the conversation, to just converse with him, Now I was going through that with somebody with a one-on-one today, right? So we're going through making personal connections, and we'll go through that after for sure. What's up, man? Mezuzah FTW, right? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what FTW means, but I know what mezuzah means now, right? So I know what FTW traditionally means, dude. I'm talking to someone in the chat too, because no one's going to be able to read that, and I'm looking like a real weirdo if somebody's watching this video after. Seth is on the chat. I got to grab a pen real quick. 1 second. Oh, should I just find my thing? Let's go. I just got to remember to go over personal connections. Okay, so you can't go off what somebody looks like for attitude, and you wouldn't want someone to go off what you look like. And customers will all the time, by the way, too. If you walk up to their house and you're like, "Hi, my name is Paul Duffy. I'm with Renewal by Anderson," then the customer's they're going to express frustration with you. They're going to be like, "What's wrong with this guy?" They might not say that, but they're thinking that, and they're going to react to that. So you just got to remember that when you go up there. Now, the way that this transpired going through it was just one example. So I was pitching somebody, or they were pitching me rather, and they asked me how long I lived in the home, which, by the way, is a fantastic question. It's the first question I ask. You guys know that. And I said, again, not that long. And then they went through some window problems. And then they said right before the value of the visit, instead of just saying, may I make a suggestion? They said, now I know you probably don't want to do anything with the windows right now because you just moved in. You're begging the person to say no. So I literally, as a customer, I said, yeah, no, you're right. Look, since I just moved in, I just don't think it's a good idea for me to take a look at windows right now. Seth, are you as bored as I am, man? It looks like it. That's why I'm making this training right now, right? So that's probably what it sounded like, you know. So sorry, the dog's out here. So the next person, same thing too. Okay, so the customer said, I'm not really interested, right? And then the person, like later on, said, yeah, I understand you're not really interested. Another person actually said, to an extent, I would actually say that the script is lifeblood to leads, but we can agree to disagree there. I'd say the system is. That's it said in the chat. That's the reason I brought that up. So then they're not interested. Things happens. Look, now it's distracting me, Seth, and it's just too much, dude. Come on, look what you're doing to me. You might as well just pop on video, dude. You want to pop on the video? Tell me if you want to pop on the video. I'll send you the code. You can pop on. It will be fun. We can always do that too. So then, you know, so I said I'm not really interested as a customer again, okay? And then he said to me a little bit later on, I know you said that you're not really interested, but okay, that's going to kill you as well. That's going to kill you, okay? So I said I'm not interested, right? Just like any normal customer would. And then, you know, a couple sentences later, the person that I was knocking with and or was doing one-on-one with was like, yeah, now I know you said you're not really interested right now, but here's why it's important, okay? It's just saying too much. You're killing yourself, you know? So a couple other examples of that. Another example of saying too much is giving the customer an idea of when the windows have been done or have not been done and undershooting it. Now, if you are good with time frame and if the windows are older, right? Like if the windows are 25 years old, then sure, that's a great, yeah, no, I noticed that they were original windows, 25 years old, right? I noticed that you had that somebody had done the windows, you know, 15 or 20 years ago, right? But more than one person told me that my windows were 8 to 10 years old before knowing the age at all. Okay, so when you tell me 8 to 10 years old, it's not that old for vinyl windows even. Okay, that's like the bottom lifespan of vinyl windows, 8 to 10 years old. And so when you tell me that, what do you think my reaction is going to be as a customer? Yeah, my windows are, damn, they're pretty new, right? That's why I always try to caution against, you can guess the time frame that they're there, but you don't want to guess early, you want to guess later. Does that make sense? Seth, let me know if you want that code, man. I'll get you right on this here. And you can come on for as long as you want and then get off whenever you're ready. Okay. The next thing was, the next thing was using the appropriate rebuttals. Okay. And this is something I put literally in the notes here. This will be easier when I break it down over video. So what I wrote here is you don't have to use rebuttals unless you've really got stopped. Try to move through the script first and then resort to rebuttals when you're stopped in your pitch. Okay. All right. So I'm going to take a second to go through that. Okay. Seth, I'm going to send Seth a code real quick first to get on here. It's killing me. I'm sending it over right now, man. I'm actually going to, yeah, here, I'll send it to you. I'll text it. This will get real fun. It's not just going to be me talking anymore. I'm really excited for this. We got a special guest. It's our first guest host of training. All right. And I can actually type the code now too in my phone because I got a new phone. So this is exciting. There we go. Okay, cool. All right. Now I'm just literally going to turn off the chat thing because Seth is coming on here. You guys are more than welcome to pop. Text me if you want to come on it too. I'm more than happy to get whoever on. Okay. So, all right. So, so there was a couple different things going on here. I had some people were using the wrong rebuttals. Okay. Some people were using the wrong rebuttals and some people were saying rebuttals before they needed to. Okay. So the way that it worked, for example, knock, knock, knock. Good afternoon. My name is Paul Duffy. I hope you're Mr. Jones. Yeah, no, look, I'm really not interested right now. And then the person would say something like, well, sir, I know that you're not really interested in windows, but I'm not selling windows or something like that. But it's just not the right avenue to go. You sort of want to ignore that. Okay. Seth is popping on right now. Seth, can you hear me? Hey, what's up, man?
Doing well. How about you?
Good, man. This is exciting. It's not just me talking on camera anymore. That's good.
Yeah.
It's so much better when like we're talking or whatever. Like it's just so much better. So
Yeah,
much better.
absolutely.
How's your night going?
Doing well. Doing well. Reading little one a book. She had her nap. Yeah, so just kind of settling down for the evening, but saw that live chat and decided to jump on.
Yeah, man. And you can, and whenever you want to pop off, you can pop off too. I don't plan on doing this for super long. I'm going to do some of it tomorrow because I've done a lot of one-on-ones. So,
Yeah.
which I'll call you about after too, like whenever you get a chance.
Awesome.
So what I was going through was using the appropriate rebuttals. So this is something that I put in the notes as I'll break down during the video because it's much more difficult to write that out. Because the couple problems that were going on, Seth, was number one, using literally the wrong rebuttal. So let's say, for example, I had all these note cards. Yeah, there they are. Let's say, for example, the customer said, look, I'm really not interested right now. Then I had someone, for example, say, well, actually, I could do you one better. I said not interested. And the person said, the Better Business Bureau advised you to obtain at least 3 quotes before you do anything with the windows. And if you didn't, and I didn't expect to catch you anyways on the day that you're ready to replace your windows, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. And then kind of paused. So, I mean, the obvious problem there is that the wrong rebuttal is being used, but it was not in a time that a rebuttal needed to be used anyways. You very easily could have just said there, yeah, no, look, I can appreciate that, or I think I said that I need to do the roof first or something like that. Yeah, and sorry, you could literally go. The goal of the visit is to go over your options, answer your questions, and the quote's good for a year, right? But at worst, you should just say, I didn't expect to catch you, of course, on the day that you're ready to replace your windows, sir. But we're getting ahead of ourselves because the goal of the visit is to go over your options, answer your questions, so and so, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely agreeing no matter what it is, right? So if they're replacing the roof, like, yeah, absolutely. Not trying to jump to the top of your priority list. Roof's smart, right? You got a leaky roof. You want to prioritize that, do it first. And agreeing with them first before obviously rebuttaling, pushing through script is huge instead of being like oppositional.
100%, 100%. And that's the thing is that I think that, so far what I've hit on, because I've gone through the Altoona notes and I'm about to jump in the one-on-one notes. So I just want to recap this just to make sure that I didn't miss anything and maybe you can help me out with that. So the couple of things were first, use the actual address of neighbors that are in areas that we're working in. Now, this is a problem from a management level, I think a management perspective, and not to call anybody out or anything like that, but I mean, a lot of times what I'm seeing when I'm out there on the road is that managers don't have the people well prepared with these addresses. Now, it does a couple of things. Number one, it's the first indicator to someone that's doing this job that they don't need to follow the system. Because if we're going through and training, hey, this is what you need to do, this is what the value is of this, and then that's being taken away right away, then what that's telling that person is that the scripture is really not that important. The system's not that important, and I can kind of do what I want to do. And it's just a wrong message to send right away. Second, it's a useful tool to explain, why we're out there and what makes us different than other companies, right? We used to use 3 addresses whenever we addressed right in the beginning. We'd say, so we just did some work for Mrs. Jones over on 123 Main Street, Mrs. Smith over on 125 Main Street, and Mr. Carlisle over on 12 Carlisle Street. And it was kind of ridiculous. I don't think we need to do that, but we used to actually show them a list of 3 addresses and say all 3 before we entered into it. So you can see where we've gone. We've gone from the 3 to none in a lot of instances. The problem is you can't come back and say, well, remember the job I told you about? We're just finishing that up right now. Now, I know that for us, the other day with Max, 2 out of 2 of the leads that we sent with him, both of them were centered around, hey, we're doing work in the area. They made it, I shouldn't say they were centered around it. They made it a lot easier. The second one was set off that. It was a previous customer. And she was like, no, I'm busy. I got to run. I'm late to go meet my friends, this and that. And, it got to the point where I'm like, look, man, we're finishing up a job. It's easier for us to come up. So we got these special deals for you and offers for you. So like, let's just set up a time, morning or afternoon better. And she's like, okay, fine, morning. So it was, and then of course I had to backtrack and go through the things, but I don't know. What do you think about that?
No, I think it's fantastic. And that's something that I've kind of colloquially called name dropping. So when we are in an area, and then same thing with the first person that you talk to and you build a personal connection with, saying, hey, I just got done talking with Mr. Smith there just next door. And being able to kind of put yourself in a neighborhood lends so much credence and gravitas to what you're doing out there, because it shows that you're invested and you're spending the time out in the neighborhood, and it legitimizes, if that's a word, what you're doing out there. It actually, they're like, yeah, this is the actual address that they're at. This is the work that we're doing. This is when we're stopping out for them, or so on and so forth. It gives you so much more weight behind your presence there. And the saying, keeping up with the Joneses, if someone is, in the area, they feel tied to that. They're like, yeah, absolutely. While you're close by, let's check out this project.
Agreed. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Especially if they've been in the neighborhood for a long time. And you look at a place like where you guys are at up there in Williamsport, especially in a place like that where we don't have, I mean, the Anderson name is known, but Renewal by Anderson is not as known, right? We haven't done big ad buys up there for 12 years, 15, 20 years, 40 years. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely important where you guys are. You know how much caffeine I'm drinking today, dude? More than average, for sure. For sure.
Dozen me is.
Oh, dude, I'm like jumping out of my shoes right now. It feels great. I don't have shoes on, so I jumped out of them earlier, and now I don't have them on. That's the thing, and I got a great doormat for the office too. It's fantastic. So I'm gonna get you guys one. So the second thing we went over was the window problem conversation. Now, here's what people are doing, and this is a problem. This is not just down here, Seth. I will say too that we'll talk about after, but definitely I think it's something that everybody needs to work on. Okay, glass impaction is becoming the only problem people are using, and so it's something that I don't know where that comes from, man. I know that you don't do that. I know that I don't do that. I don't think anybody else does that up until recently, but it seems like it's infecting, it's like those spotted lanternflies. It's like one place, the other place, and it might not have got up to Williamsport yet, but it's going to get up there soon, just like the spotted lanternflies, right? So it's coming. And what's happening is at every house, it's, hey, notice some glass impaction here. And a lot of times people aren't explaining what glass impaction means. So they're just saying glass impaction. The person's like, what are you talking about? And it's come up in one-on-ones on role plays and stuff like that too. So it's concerning to me. I mean, it's an easy problem to take care of, but it's concerning to me that people that have a lot more knowledge than that are just using that as their go-to, even when it doesn't exist. And they're not bringing that anywhere at all. It's the building no urgency. And I think it's also a reason for some people's lead quality issues too. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'd agree. Glass impaction is definitely a terminology, and it's really easy, I'll say, to spot. So that might be, part of it. But, the training that we do out in the field those first 3 days are just really definitely important in picking out signs. And what's also important is to carry the understanding that we are the experts, right? So we are able to get more information. We can point out the more subtle things like end caps and Andersons, like the warping in the material, of the vinyl, and as it said, they only last 7-10 years. So something that's, newer for somebody, that's a great conversation to have too. The neighborhoods with a lot of history, original wood windows, if you see vinyls in there and they look terrible and they are warped and there is glass impaction or hazing, and you say, how old are your windows? And they say, oh, they're newer. They are newer to them because they just got done replacing 100-year-old wood windows. But we're the ones that are able to find some of the more subtle differences that aren't a window literally falling out of a house, right? There's definitely gapping that you can point out. Hazing, that's common in a vinyl as well. So, impaction is a nice thing that you can that I feel like is rested on because it's really easy to point out. But we can definitely build a greater sense of urgency with the knowledge that we've obtained going out into these neighborhoods. Definitely.
Yeah, we definitely have to. And we got to recognize too that it can be extremely simple. Like, I don't think, I was explaining to somebody earlier that the beauty of this job is that we see a lot of people that just start do well, and they don't do well because they have a lot of information. They do well because of the simplicity behind the way that they're using that information. One of the biggest problems that we see with people that have been here for a little while is that they overcomplicate things and they make it just too much for the customer to take. And so having a lot of information, I think, is extremely unnecessary. I mean, like the way I explain to this person, the way I explain to anybody is, you want to know stuff because it makes you feel good. You want to know stuff because it's good. It's good to have confidence in your company. And then occasionally it comes up. But most of the time, it's hey, look, I noticed this. This can lead to this. I noticed that too. From your home, back your home. And great, you're gonna have to do something with Windows in the next couple of years, man. Make a suggestion. And you just get over a couple of rebuttals, and it's simple. And so I think for people that are starting out, and for people that need a reset, because that's what, like up in Altoona, for example, what we need is a reset. The whole beginning part of this video, if you missed it, was about the fact that what makes it work up there is the team environment and the drive. Everybody up there, they're killers. They just want to do well. They just want to succeed. And that's what makes it extremely lucrative up there, because they are all like every person up there is like the most motivated person I've ever met. But this is why, the benefit is that even if there is a period of time where they fall off, it's easy to jump back on. Now what makes it harder is what I called foot and mouth disease here. Now this is something that a lot of teams are going through. And I know I'm rehashing this, I just talked about it. It's different when we're on, kind of talking about it and knock this idea around. What I'm seeing a lot of, and there's no way this is just up in Altoona, because, I know it's not, because I had two people from Central say to me in their one-on-ones today, hey, I saw the note that you had sent over, because I sent over a picture of this when I was typing it. And they said, that's what I'm doing. I'm preempting rebuttals. I'm anticipating objections. And I called it here again, not to be disrespectful to anybody, but I called it rebuttal PTSD, because that's what it is. You're overreacting to, but it is. You have a version of post-traumatic stress disorder caused by rebuttals. And so what ends up happening is you're like, oh shit, they're going to say not interested. They're going to say not shit. And you end up just blurting things out. And because you think the customer is going to keep saying no, what I saw was these specific examples. One, how long ago did you move into the home? Which I always start with. How long ago did you move into the home? I just moved in not that long ago. And then 2 lines later, it's, now I know you probably don't want to do anything right now because you just moved in. Well, you just killed your own appointment. That immediately, if I'm playing customer, and this is on Monday, we're going to go through in managers meeting. If I'm playing customer, then if I'm playing a good customer, if I'm doing a good job in role play, then I'm going to use it. I'm going to say, look, you said, I'm not going to do anything with my windows right now. Right. And that's a killer. And I see so many people doing that, and it's not caught for some reason very quickly. It takes a third person perspective, because the people that are doing this that I've seen, they think they're right. They're doing everything right. They're just adding this in as well, but they think they're doing everything right. They want to get better, but they think that, oh, hey, I'm using my scripting system, because they are, but they're just putting this in too. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I mean, kind of different iterations of it, right? I think there's a lot of times that people are expecting, to have objections, and that'll manifest in different ways. Part of that could inflect, something like fluency too. And I've there's been a handful of times out where I'm walking with somebody, and they're saying, I'm with Renewal by Anderson, and then they pause, and there's like that really awkward long gap of time, and in which they're expecting somebody to just be like, yeah, okay, Windows doors, yep, not interested, slam. And that pause will kill you in a very similar way that if you're expecting, an objection that you've gotten previously from new homeowners, and you preempt that by putting the excuse in their mouth, it doesn't give you any control at all over that situation. You're actually putting words in their mouth that put you at a greater disadvantage, right? So instead, yeah, definitely using the script and flowing through it. And going back to the basics and that is huge. It's not gonna, it's kind of the burden of experience here that you run into that and you start preempting it, but it puts you in a more compromising situation, if anything else.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. And that's sort of like what this other example was. I would say, in both in role play and on the road, this played itself out, where I said, in role play, yeah, look, I'm really not interested. It was like my first objection, and they would get over that. And this same thing happened on the road too. But then at a point later on, they would say either, yeah, no, look, I understand you're really not interested, like you said, or they would say both, I know that you said that you're not really interested, but, and that's again, it's expecting rebuttals. So, yes, people pause, people do all this other kind of funny stuff. Up in Altoona, this is how it was transpiring. This is how it was manifesting itself. But it's a dangerous issue. It's a killer issue, because when you look at all your production, throughout the day, all of it could be killed instantly by this. It's you could be and I think you see this for some people. You could be a 7 lead a day guy, right? A 7 lead a day guy or girl at this point, right? A 7 lead a day guy or girl, and this one thing could kill all of your production, every single lead that you write, because the large majority of leads that you see are going to say not interested in some way, shape, or form. If you're putting this at the front of it, then you're going to be in a rough place. And you had mentioned this earlier to an extent. You mentioned, no, this is what you mentioned earlier. You had said like at 8 to 10 years old or whatever, or 10 to 12 years old, that vinyl windows are pretty much done. They are, but you don't want to tell the customer that, right? Well, you want to tell the customer, but you don't want to put that age in the customer's head. And this is another thing that was happening a lot up there that I think is happening other places too, is whenever they didn't know what age the windows were, they were presetting to 8 to 10 years old. The problem is that we'd be in front of 15 or 20-year-old windows, and they would say, so these look like they're about 8 to 10 years old. Well, you're dating those windows back. You're telling that customer either A, their windows that are older look great, right? Because I mean, hell, if something looks 8 to 10, unless it's like fine wine like you, right, where they look like a very, very hot 50-year-old, you don't want to date it younger. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what you want to do with these windows. So 8 to 10 years old, you can experience problems, but you're better off at 15 to 20, or letting the customer tell you. If the customer doesn't know, you sometimes it's not even worth guessing. They're just older, right? So for example, we knocked on a door and the customer's like, yeah, I didn't move. I moved in a year ago or something like that. And the person I was with was like, yeah, okay, well, it looked like the windows had been replaced at some point, which was true. I mean, it was a 1970s neighborhood, so you could tell they had been. You don't need to lie to the customer. You don't want to lie to the customer. But he said, so yeah, probably like 8 to 10 years ago. Does that sound about right? And the guy's like, I have no idea. But and luckily the guy said, I have no idea, because we were able to point out a couple of problems. I was able to jump in. But if that happens and the person takes advantage of that, then well, yeah, they said that they were pretty new. So just don't date them too young, I'd say, and it's saying too much. That's what I put there. Saying too much is a big kind of headline there, right? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Yeah. The always kind of dating beyond, and I've been surprised at this. I've walked up to a home and I'm like, and personally, I'm not saying this out loud, but in my head I'm thinking, wow, these vinyls are probably 15 years, something like that. And the homeowners come out and they're like, yeah, I put these in when I first moved in 25 years ago. I'm like, holy cow. Like, yeah, that's insane. And antithesis of that too. So, as far as like dating them older is, I've always been surprised. I think I had that backwards. Yeah, no, I guess that then they were much, much older, that they're like 25 and they're like, yeah, no, I just put these in like 10 years ago. Because it was, no matter what, like the oxidation of the material, which they go over and everything like that, it goes from a shiny white window to a nasty, kind of chalky, like an old lawn chair. So yeah, as far as like actually dating the windows, it's safer to have your expertise of knowing the breakdown of 7 to 10 years. But, if they age it themselves, then, like 15, 20 years, that's usually when I'll come in with look, these were never meant to last that long. That explains a lot of the issues of why I'm seeing X, Y, or Z. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'll tell you what, though, you see too, this whole train thing on video can be tougher, right? You say something wrong, you can't just erase it. Like that's the way it works, right? Happens to be talk about foot and mouth or whatever I called it.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. No, I had that completely backwards. Yep.
It happens to me like 90% of my day. So that's fine. I have everything completely backwards. So all right, let me see. I think I'm done with my note cards there. I got notes everywhere, dude. I need to like really, fix my shit here. So as
long as they're not like tacked around your room with red yarn and
I used to do that. No bullshit. I had an apartment. You could ask you could ask Muffin Loaf, or you could ask this kid Brandon. Not that I'm gonna like, oh yeah, call him and ask him, right? But he would tell you. So this kid lived with me. We called him Muffin Loaf. It was not the nicest thing in the world, but we did. He liked muffin loaves. That's the reason why. A very simple answer for that. But that was a Hostess cake. I don't know. It's a story for another time. But I used to have, when he left, I put up a desk and I had pictures of all my team and yarn to different goals. It was crazy. It was crazy. I was up all night. That wasn't caffeine that did that though. That was, I don't know what it was. Just, I'll just put that out there. Wasn't caffeine though. So I can't see your face right now either because I'm looking at Microsoft Word. So you're probably telling me like, dude, shut up. What are you talking about?
Foot and mouth.
So, all right. I got a couple other notes for a couple other people, and I know I'm missing something, and I'm going to find it and go through it after. But there's just been so many different one-on-ones that I've done over the last couple of days. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through something real quick, and then I'm going to ask you if you could just take a second on it. That way I can just kind of get the rest of this together, and that's going to be personal connections. So today, actually, I was doing a one-on-one. And I don't even want to mind me sharing. It was Julio, and we are talking about difficulty one-on-ones, and a lot of people when they join this job, they're talkative with their friends, they're talkative with us and stuff like that, but they have a tougher time connecting with customers. And it's funny because I told you this last night. I was telling you that crazy story about my past and stuff like that, but how it can help you carry over to having conversation and whatnot. And for me, it was accepting who I am. Like being happy with who I am, right? Like I'm a confident person. I'm confident in myself. I love myself. And a lot of people when that sounded like if you just clip that out, that's I love myself. Probably like a terrible meme. But you got to be confident in yourself. You have to be confident in like the things that you like, right? At one point in time, it was like I need to dress in baggy clothes. I need to wear bandanas. I need to listen to a certain kind of music. I need to talk a certain way. I need to say certain things and be around a certain group of people. I could not be myself. Now I can turn on Madonna like a prayer and dance to it anytime I want, right? I can blare Cascade in my car. I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I have no problem at all with anything. That makes making personal connections so much easier because I'm not worried about what the customer's thinking past the point of a work level, past the point of course, I want them to like me from a professional level. But I don't mind talking to anybody because I don't mind sort of making an ass of myself in an enjoyable way. You know, like I don't mind my foot and mouth, right? I mean, it's not a problem. Now, so if you can be comfortable with yourself, then that's the best. When it comes to making personal connections, the way that we went through it today was I said, all right, well, go ahead. You play customer. My house is whatever you want it to be. Okay. Like you're in front of the house. Don't make it crazy, but on a normal house, and I think keep it guarded. And the way that he was asking questions about my garden or saying things about my garden, it was like, so how long have you lived in the area? Okay, did you move from the area? And okay, and why did you move from the area? And I'm like, you sound like you're interrogating the person. You don't want to do that, right? Make it a lot more casual. So then we get into the garden thing, and he's like, so did you make a garden yourself? Does it take a lot of upkeep? And then he says to me, can you explain the upkeep to me? And I'm like, you really want me to run through that with you right now? I'm like, okay, so you buy the seed, you put it into the ground. The seed sits in the ground. You want to put some soil over it, and then after you put soil over it, you want to water it before you put the mulch on. Water it, and then you start to let it grow. And when it starts to grow, the little leaves or whatever they call will pop right out, and then it will start. It was kind of funny. So I said, here's a better version of that, and it's tough when you're not in front of something. So I'll admit that, but that's the whole point. If you test yourself on that, then it makes it easier to do it real time, right? So I knocked on his door, Seth. I'd like you to play customer, please. So do the honors. And I'm looking at your garden. Okay, you got a nice garden.
Hello.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Paul Duffy. Mr. Jones?
Yes, I am.
Great, Mr. Jones. Look, I'm with Renewal by Anderson. We were just finishing up some work for your neighbor, Mr. Smith, down here. The reason why I'm out here, it looked like you had the original vinyl windows here. How long have you lived in the home, sir?
I've been here, I guess, this will be my 9th year.
9 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. The neighborhood's what, like 12 or 15 years old?
Yeah. Yeah.
So are you the second owner?
Yeah. I mean, they just a job offer. The guy, went out to the West Coast.
Nice. Well, it's a beautiful neighborhood here. I did notice the garden here too. So I want to ask you, because we just purchased a house and whatnot. We were looking at trees. Is this a Japanese maple?
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah. It was, honestly, it's one of the strong selling points. I've rarely seen one this big. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you didn't build this?
No.
So you're telling me this has stayed this nice for 9 years? That's crazy. Yeah. That's absolutely absurd. Wow. I do one question too, because I heard that there's a lot of upkeep involved with the maple. Is it a lot, or is it just kind of self-sustaining?
I guess it kind of depends. I think I'm gonna have to see what the next couple of years look like. At spotted lanternfly kind of coming through. Or that could be a problem.
Well, you know what you do, sir. There's if you look up online, there's like some sort of goop contraption. I don't know. You put it on like saran wrap and wrap it around the tree. You have to look it up, but there's ways to get rid of those things.
Oh,
Yeah,
awesome.
there's ways to kill them. And sir, you got to look for the nest. They look just like bark, so be careful because they look just like bark, and you just
Wow.
cut those babies right off. Yep, absolutely. Okay,
Awesome.
so but
Appreciate
I'll
it.
let you know why I'm here too, sir. Right. So my name is Paul Duffy. Like I said, I'm with Renewal by Anderson. And walking on my notes that you're experiencing a problem with X, Y, and Z, right? And so on, so right. So that's it's a lot more natural of a conversation, right, than an interrogation. Okay. And so I mean that's just an example. Again, it's tough, but and maybe you don't know anything about maybe you can't say Japanese maple, this and that. So you just look, it could start as simple as this. What I told them was start off with this is a beautiful garden, or start off with, sir, this is so different than your neighbor's house. This is really just awesome. This really cool that you put this in. Whatever. Start off simple, and if you fall on your face a couple times, then that's fine. The whole point is getting more comfortable with just communicating with people. Now, and now you can do the job without many personal connections. You can, but it's just going to be the difference between 2 leads and 5 leads. That's the difference right there. It's like the system is going to get you the leads. You can't take the system away, but just being comfortable talking to people is going to make you have so much more fun. There was 2 one-on-ones we were going through that today. We're talking in a later one-on-one about having more fun, and this is what makes you have fun too, right? So, can you speak on that for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. That's that's my favorite part of the job. If you can, by being able to kind of reframe your day, and obviously, we're out there to make money. It's an exceedingly lucrative job and career for a lot of people. What makes it less of a job is the ability to and deriving joy out of going out into these neighborhoods and learning about these people's lives. Your day flies by. You see more success as a result because you start to learn people's names, you start to learn their hobbies, you start to learn what they do as a group, in a neighborhood, in different areas. I'm amazed every time that I go out into a neighborhood and I start talking with people and just taking genuine interest in their lives, how helpful everybody is. And I'm sure that, a number of you have seen this out on the road, but you knock on the door, you're you're learning about how long they've been there. You're learning about their favorite Italian restaurant down the street. And then by the end of the conversation, even if they don't set a lead, they're telling you, yeah, this house right across there, I know that they just renovated their place like 2 years ago. Right next to there, though, I know they need new windows. They were talking about it, I think, last year. And that's apartment complex or whatever else. People are exceedingly friendly when it just feeds into itself. So your day's going to go by faster. You're going to see more success. And to me, that's always been the difference between the people that can do the job, and the script works beautifully. It is a great metric for seeing consistent success here each and every day. But that is absolutely the difference between the people that just see success and the people that top out the charts, in ground force and are setting the absolute most. It's the people who take the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to say, and this is really important, because if you're not at least 2 leads a day, then focus on the system first. Like you need to, it needs to be said, because if you go out there and you think that you're just going to set leads using personal connection, Seth doesn't do that. I don't do that. No one does that. Right. So it's just very important that we really enforce that point. Like script and system, that should be ingrained in you by the time you're done training. Right. So that's why I'm not saying don't go into personal connections right now. What I am saying is just make sure that that's hammered out before you worry about that other kind of stuff, because it's very easy to want to go through the stuff that's harder, because it gives you a reason to not succeed until you get that stuff down, right? And I'm seeing that with some people now too. We've talked about it, Seth, with some people in the past, where it's like, hey, if I keep chasing this, then I'm not going to see success until I get this, but I will get success eventually. And it's just not the way to operate, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's the basis from which everything grows out of. But that is hands down the backbone. You need to have that. On that note as well, I've had some people who have run into difficulty with the people that are saying, yeah, that sounds helpful or good, and agreeing with them out the gate, and then just going right into like setting an appointment. So like mornings, afternoons, evenings, what works best for you, like out of excitement. So
Yeah,
like being able to no matter what, if someone's like, oh, thank God you're here. I was expecting you. I saw you walking around the neighborhood. I know what you're all about. Yes, sign me up for an appointment. I'm still going to say, beautiful. What is it that you're looking at? I'm still going to build urgency. I'm still going to talk to them about the age. And then I'm still going to say, all right, well then, yeah, may I make a suggestion for you? I'm going to run through the value. I'm going to run through the goal. So there's important information in all of that. That absolutely comes first, before anything else.
Yeah, 100%. No, 100%. And just a couple housekeeping things too. So I do want to mention this because a lot of people are doing this. I know this person, when they watch this, they're going to be like, "God, that was me," and it's because this is a problem that every person will look at and go, "Oh, who says that?" But trust me, to that person, when you're watching this, dude, a lot of people are doing this. A lot more people than you think, and it goes back to the kind of foot and mouth thing. We had ran into a customer where they said to us, someone stopped by 6 months ago or something like that, which wasn't even true because we had not been to this place before, or after COVID. Like we've only been there before COVID. So the person was either dating it not far back enough, or they thought it was different, or it was a different company or something like that. But this person literally said, so one of our foremen needs to see your windows. You've been pitched this before. We would just come out and leave you with a free quote. Okay. And I get what their premise was. I get what they thought. I've lotioned my handset like 8 times since the start of this video. So I get what they were going for. They didn't want to feel repetitive to the customer. I understand that, but it's not. And there's ways for you to be able to say that without saying it, right? So you could say something like, well, I don't know if they told you this last time. I don't know if you talked about this before, right? But what we're doing, or, well, I do want to let you know while I'm out here, right? Maybe one thing that we do different is we, have somebody check out your windows. It doesn't matter what you say after that if you say that, but honestly, it doesn't matter. Just don't say that. You don't want to ever use the word pitch in your pitch, first of all. That's a no-no. I don't care if a customer says to me, are you pitching me right now? I don't care if whatever. Nope. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just talking to you. It just is not a good, it's the same thing as saying I'm not selling anything, which I've seen as well. And that's something that should never be said. I've never seen someone be successful that says I'm not selling anything, because it's a lie. You're selling an idea. And you're buying the person's time. You're taking the person's time. Okay, so it's a transaction. It is a transaction. When they have to give you personal information, it's a transaction. Not selling anything as if we were passing out checks. Here you go. Have a good day. Right? Okay, that's not selling anything. Okay, but you're taking something from them, and they're not going to look at you as honest. You don't say, yes, I am selling you something. You just don't address it. You just move on from it. It's very simple, right? You just go through your system and script. And when we get into the back end of the script, there's a couple things coming up too. So I had multiple people not say at least before 90 minutes. We've had a huge lead quality issue. I got 3 people here out of like 7 that would not say at least before 90 minutes. 2 people, one separate person, and one of these people also did not ask the question fair enough. They just moved on from it. You got to make sure that you're getting that down. We need you to set aside at least 90 minutes, whether we need it or not. The reason for my success, at least in this job, is because I can tell you every script and every part of rebuttals, every single part of the script and every rebuttal, 150%. And so if I asked half the people in our department right now, hey, just do the 2 commitments for me, they would go, we need to set aside 90 minutes. We might not need it. No, you don't want to do that. Okay, that's going to kill the appointment. And I even saw that. I even saw someone say, we need to set aside 90 minutes, but it might not take that long because it's only one window. No, definitely not. We need you to set aside at least 90 minutes, whether we need it or not. Fair enough. Plus, this goes back to the whole thing, big time back to the whole thing of preempting rebuttals. The customer is probably not going to object to the 90 minutes. So why are you freaking out? That's what you're doing when you do that. You think the person is going to say no, and so you're trying to over justify it, right? And again, I'm kind of trying to bang through these things with the 90 minutes as well. What I saw some people do, and a sizable amount of people, is explaining the 90 minutes when they said it. So they would say, so we need you to set aside at least 90 minutes just so we can go over the different styles, just make sure that we answer all your questions. Is that fair enough? No, don't justify it. Don't do the rebuttal in the script. Okay, we need to, and I'm going to go through this again because want clarity. I don't want you to take that and then use it. So, Mr. Jones, to do this for you, all that we need are two things. First, we need you to set aside at least 90 minutes, whether we need it or not. Fair enough. Okay. And second, the two commitments. Okay. What's happening a lot is, and this before I go into the second one, is we have a lot of people not saying a list of people, and they're just saying we need all owners of the we need to speak with all owners of the home. Who would that be? Something like that. We just need to speak with all decision makers and homeowners. Who would that be? Okay, it's not going to get you the proper people. We need to speak with all owners of the property, including you, a spouse, a family member, or significant other. So who would that be? Okay, great. What's their name? All right. It's extremely important. Not are you married? Not is there any other homeowner here? No, we need to speak with all owners of the property, including you, a spouse, a family member, or significant other. Guys, this is stuff that we need to be stricter on because it's killing our demo rate. And when you sit there and complain about, oh, this not home, or my demo rate, or my cancellations are going up. Like if you look at your cancellations, maybe it's because the call center is saying, hey, is this going to be a good time for Mrs. Jones as well? And they're saying, whoa, no, Mrs. Jones, no, I'm the only homeowner here. Because, no, he told me that I didn't need her there, right? That's the reason why this stuff will come up. And so it's extremely important that we're buttoning that stuff up, because just like the beginning part of the script, it's the same exact problem, just playing out in a different place. What do you think?
Yeah, no, that's huge. I mean, that's and I would try and communicate with people that it's such an important section, because you're doing, think about the premise of what we're doing out here and think about the work that you've put into it. And you're 99% of the way there. You are missing not even a percentage, less than a percentage of effort here, and just saying, that you need to set aside at least 90 minutes, whether we need it or not, and making sure that we have all owners of the property, including you, significant other, family member, spouse, etc. You're right there. I mean, I know people probably get really excited that the fact that they're setting a lead, but you won't get paid on it if it's not home, right? So it just take that extra very small step and make it the most solid appointment that you possibly can. And that's going to make all the difference between, an average week or a fantastic week. And you play that out over all the leads that you set, and it can have a huge impact, a huge impact on your paychecks. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. And I'm going to close on this too, Seth, and this is amazing. I was doing a one-on-one with Cassie, so shout out definitely, because this is when I realized I'm looking through and I'm like, hey, you know what? I wonder what we're at in sales for today. Because it's been one day, we checked the other day. We're doing pretty good. I know that. So I'm like, So I checked. We just hit $2 million in sales midway through the month. It's the 16th today. So that's fantastic. So none of this training is to say we're not doing a good job. Okay. Everyone's doing a beautiful job. The key is we want you to make money too. We don't want, 3 people to make money. We want every person to make money. The way to create a happy staff, is definitely creating teamwork. And we've done a great job of that. I think that we manage problems well. I don't see people fighting this and that. I think we're fulfilling all those promises, transparency and communication and things like that. And when I say we, I don't just mean me, Seth, and other managers. I mean, we as in a team, everybody. I think the biggest thing, guys, is we want you making money. That's the formula. And so on Monday, when we have this managers meeting, Seth, and I do want you to be involved as well. When we have this managers meeting on Monday, 9:30. Okay. So surprise. If you're cool with that, if you've got stuff to do, that's fine. I'm going to tape it anyways, meant for the guys down here and for, West Central's coming down this week too. Remember I'll talk to you about it after. That's fine. Max is coming up to see you on Friday, or I'm sorry, Thursday. Thursday he's coming up to see you. Thursday. Because he's got drill on Friday, so he's going to go up there, and then I'm getting him a hotel down near drill on Thursday night. So I just gave away way too much information on here. So it's a tough night for me. I'm gonna be up all night. It's gonna be great. My train of thought is shot. So the managers meeting, it's gonna be on getting people in, prospering them quickly and making them happy and healthy in the job. And the best way to do that is to see success early. And the best way to do that is to not have training deviate. And I think that's what makes you successful. What I always tell people is that me and you communicate a lot. We talk a lot about things. We bring ideas to the table. You'll listen to my ideas and do what you do. So like you'll use some of them, no doubt, and then some things you'll change. And but we always talk about these things, and communication is super important. And anytime, and I observed this from one-on-ones with your guys and just talking to them and stuff like that. People like our friend Alex is just killing it, in 3 leads a day the last 2 days, first 2 days out there on his own. It's a great job. It all translates. He's not learning something different here than he was here. And it makes it a lot easier for him to adjust. We're making people's jobs a lot harder. And if you're on a team that's like that, I'm sorry, you need to come to me and talk to me. I hate to put it like that, but you need to communicate it. It's not worth it. No one's gonna get in trouble here. We're a team. It's about making each other better. But you need to communicate that with your manager. You need to communicate with me. If you're getting confused out there, then I want to help you. I want. It might not even be that issue. It might be something I'm doing, but I just want to make sure that we fix that and we figure it out together. And, again, we're at $2 million so far this month. We're going to end the month over $3 million, whether that's 3.5 or 3.7 or 3.2. We're going to end the month over $3 million. So for the first time ever. And the way that we're doing it is phenomenal. We're at, 1.1 and Central and 900,000 or so in West Central Williamsport. So that's great. And next month, it's going to be Williamsport against West Central competing against each other. And for the first time ever, it's going to be like it reminds me of the WCW, WWE battle for, like, I don't know if you might remember that. Do you remember that? Even if you didn't watch it? Yeah, Attitude Era. It's the takeover. They used to call it some shit like that. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Okay. And what you guys don't know yet is whoever wins that takes over the other office. I'm just kidding. That would be crazy though. Imagine if that's how things work. Hey, it's capitalism. Wouldn't be too bad. That
we'd be taking over all the East Coast at this point.
Yeah, just conquering. Yep, just going one after the other. It's not even a bad way to. We'd be like the Genghis Khan without all the bad stuff. You know what I'm saying? Which is like 90% bad stuff. So maybe we wouldn't be. So it's stuff that we can't even talk about in here. So we'll just leave it at that. But look, this is fun. And I do this all the time, Seth, too. So anytime that you want to join in, dude, I'm more than happy to have you on here. It's fantastic, and we can structure it out better. Even that way, there's more back and forth participation and stuff like that. So sound good?
Absolutely, my guy. Anytime.
You got 5 minutes after we get off here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right, sounds good. I'm going to do this then. Let me see if I can just end the YouTube.